the man everyone's talking about, Tim Tebow, making another miraculous run on Sunday's NFL on CBS. He's grabbed national headlines with his play on the field and his displays of faith off the field. He wrote about it in his book, Through My Eyes, A Quarterback's Journey, and the Young Readers edition is in stores now. Joining me now is Tebow's co-author, Nathan Whitaker, and the former NFL coach and evangelical Christian, Tony Dungy. Welcome to you both. And let me start with you, Tony Dungy, because from a football point of view, and bear in mind, it's not the football I'm massively expert in, so let me just put my credentials on the table right away. But I watched the game on Sunday, and his team didn't win, but I was fascinated by the phenomenon of Tim Tebow. And there was something extraordinarily compelling about him to watch, even if you're not a football nut. He's a fascinating character. Why is that?
I think it's really the word you use, character. He's got a ton of it, and that's what impacts people and affects them. He won a high school state championship here in Florida, where I live. He won 2 national championships at University of Florida, and you just get the feeling if he's on your team, he's going to give you a chance to win a championship, and I think that's the phenomenon.
And from a technical point of view, how good is he, and what makes him special?
Well, what makes him special is his will to win, his drive, his desire. He's not a polished NFL quarterback yet, but he's a winner. He's a guy that is going to make the play that you need to win the game. And the other thing that he does is he inspires belief in his teammates. He's a strong runner. He's an athletic quarterback. He's a powerful guy. But all of that really kind of falls underneath the topic of that will to win.
Nathan Whitaker, I mean, you wrote this book with Tim Tebow, and you know him probably as well as anybody. What is really fascinating about him is this relationship between his performances on the field and his faith. And some of these things I've been reading are quite extraordinary. That Tebow wore a John 3:16 on his iPad, a biblical reference. As a result, 92 million people searched John 3:16. I mean, that's an incredible power, isn't it? For anybody, never mind an athlete. To be able to influence people in that way is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. No, Tim takes very seriously that his ability to be a role model, and he was very intentional in all these things. He gives it a lot of thought. He spent a lot of time thinking about what to do and put on the eye black before that game, and he certainly didn't know it was going to be 92 million people, but he knew it'd be a fair number.
It's staggering, isn't it, to think that could happen.
Right.
I mean, I like the fact that as a role model, he's such a positive force. Mm-hmm. And the critics that sort of complain about it, I think, are completely barking up the wrong tree because, what's the alternative? You become a Michael Vick kind of role model in football. It's not to pick on him, but a very, very different kind of role model. What is wrong with a God-fearing guy who goes out, works hard, does his job, but believes in God and sends a positive message?
Right. Well, Tony has said before repeatedly that 99% of the athletes in the NFL are positive role models. They do the right thing, and you don't hear anything because of the 1% that does do the wrong thing. And so, with Tim, you've got a guy who really is very intentional and does the right thing all the time and says the right things. I mean, he's a great teammate and gives credit when the kicker's making long kicks. He gives credit to the kicker and tries to always deflect praise.
And Tony, I mean, I was watching him just to see how he compared to my, as I say, not massively expert eye, but I love sport. And what it seemed to me was he had a lot of time. This was a guy who had time and had intelligence and had patience, always waiting to the last second before releasing the ball. I mean, am I wrong about that, or is that a particular talent that he has that is putting him slightly above the others at the moment?
Well, because of his skill set and his athleticism, he can get away from the rush, and he can buy time, and he does get more time to throw than a lot of other quarterbacks. But he's still learning the position, and that's what people have to understand. This is a young player, but he's galvanized kind of the attention of the country, and he's gonna use this platform really well. And I think in Tim's mind, it's more about that than it is about winning championships. I know he wants to win. But as Nathan said, he wants to use this platform. He wants to be a role model, and I admire that.
He's also, I mean, we would call him back in my country a big unit. I mean, he takes some felling, doesn't he?
That's a good way to put it. I've not heard it stated that way here, but no, he is a big man. He's a strong guy, and he has a strong will, too. He's not going to give in easily. So because of that, he is able to take some shots out there, and he does it in such a way that it kind of inspires the rest of his teammates.
I mean, Tebow phenomenon has exploded to such a degree, he even got the ultimate badge of honor, which was an SNL skit. Let's watch a bit of this.
Best of luck next week. I'll try to watch. Tim, I love you. Okay, I really
love you too.
Okay, all right. But just take it down a notch, will you, buddy?
All right, yes, Lord, whatever you command.
Okay, not a command, just a request. All right.
It was quite interesting. I mean, Pat Robertson responded to that sketch. I'll read what he said. "We need more religious faith in our society. We're losing our moral compass in our nation. This man has been placed in a unique position, and I applaud him. God bless him." And whether you're religious or not, actually, doesn't really matter. The message that he is communicating is so positive, isn't it? I mean, if you're a young person watching football right now, Tebow magic isn't going to do you any harm, is it?
It's really not. I mean, all his lessons, as Tony talked about, the hard work, faith in for him, it's faith in God, but also faith in his teammates, faith in what hard work's going to bring. You know, everything Tim does, and the deflecting of praise. You know, his parents taught him at an early age, Proverbs 27:2, let another person praise you. And so you can't get him to say anything good about himself. That was a hard part about writing an autobiography of somebody who won't talk about himself.
Well, let's have a little break and then come back and talk a bit more about his upbringing, because I think that's been central probably to the character that he is. And I also want to learn from both of you, if I can, how you do the Tebow. It's about time I did one, live on air.
Had a huge impact on my life, and not because of what he's told me, but because the example that he was in front of me every day. You know, it wasn't something that I had to go outside of the house to look for a role model. I had one that I could watch every single day, who, when he said something, he did it.
That's Tim Tebow talking about his relationship with his father. I suppose, Nathan, this is key, isn't it, to understanding the man, is that both his parents were Christian Baptist missionaries. He was actually born in the Philippines where they were doing their missionary work. His father's a pastor, so he was clearly brought up very much a man of the church. And as you say, a sort of almost ridiculously modest individual too. Tell me some other stuff about the real Tim Tebow.
You know, he's incredibly kind and sensitive, and that was one of the interesting things that came out, is that people talk about him wearing his emotion on his sleeves at times. But what's really interesting to see about Tim is that he does that in a way that really makes him seek out if there's somebody that's kind of on the periphery of the crowd, or even as I was. There were 12 of us in the house, his brothers and friends and whatever, and he was always coming over and making sure, you know, Nathan, do you need anything? Is there anything I can do for you? And not only just one of the guys, but also going out of his way to be kind and generous to those around him.
And Tony, one thing he's not on the pitch is either kind or generous. I mean, he's a beast from what I was watching. So come on, Tony, he's got a big game coming against the Buffalo Bills. How's he going to do?
Well, they need one more win to get in the playoffs, and I know Tim wants to deliver that. That's the important thing to him, and as a coach, that's what you really appreciate about him. He's all about winning. He doesn't really care about individual accolades. He doesn't care about headlines. He wants to win. And this is going to be a big game for him. I expect to see him play very, very well.
Nathan, when you wrote the book, you spent a lot of time with Tim Tebow. He's become this superstar now. How far is he going to go, do you think? And how will he deal with it?
I think he'll deal with it great. And you're right. I can only assume that it's the book that put him on the map and made him so popular. No, he's so down to earth, and his parents really brought him up to continue that way. And one of the things that you touched on earlier about being a role model is that he just gives a lot of thought to what he does, the situations he gets in, and how hard he works. And he always puts himself in good positions because he makes good decisions. And I think that's going to serve him.
And Tony, his big thing is this sort of the comeback kid element to his game, where he rescues the Broncos in this dramatic last-minute fashion all the time. I mean, that's what's making him this sort of people's hero, isn't it?
It is, but I think that really has to do with his faith, too. Tim is not a person that's ever going to give up at anything. He's never going to look at anything hopeless as being hopeless, even if they're, 2 scores down with 2 minutes to go. He always feels like they can win, and that's a great quality to have.
Now, we've got to get to the point now, which I never thought would come, where I need to know how to do the Tebow. Because if everybody else is doing it, it's become a cultural and social phenomenon, and I've got to better do this. So I'm going to have a go. I want you to advise me here, because Nathan, you're here, and I know that, Tony, you can see me. Unless I'm wrong, it's this, right? Is that it? No, it's this.
Yes.
It's this. Am I now doing the Tebow?
You are.
This is the Tebow. And what does this bring me?
Well, I'm
Other than an early moment of television ridicule.
I'm not entirely certain. I think Tim would hope that you would be praying at this point.
Yes, I can do that.
But
it feels you do feel quite powerful doing this. I can see why he does it. The Tebow brings you power. He's an amazing phenomenon. That's why we're covering him tonight. I think he's one of those people who is absolutely the right kind of person to be a big superstar in this country. It's just what America needs right now. People like Tim Tebow doing his stuff, flinging his arm, winning matches, and I wish him all the very best. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you both, gentlemen, for talking over the phenomenon that is Tim Tebow. I won't say good luck to him because no one in the Buffalo Bills vicinity will ever talk to me again, so I'll just say may the best team win. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, I'll talk to remarkable actor Kenneth Branagh about playing acting legend Sir Laurence Olivier.